Hi, my name's Kelly. I know I've done some funny things to make people laugh because I think laughter is the best medicine, but I decided today to tell my story and how I got started with this. In 1994, I was in a four-car collision and I was almost 8 months pregnant. The collision left me with a lot of injuries, and the baby, I went to the hospital and they said that everything was fine. And within a few weeks, I noticed that he had stopped moving. And what had happened is I ended up with a pinhole that drained out all my amnio fluid. So when I went to the hospital, they did the pH test or test that they do, the test strip, and said that I wasn't leaking any water. And since they had me there, they decided to do an ultrasound. There was no amnio fluid around him, and they weren't sure how long it had been since he had been without it. I knew that it had to be close to 4 weeks. So they did an emergency C-section, and he was born jaundice with infection in his ears, and they placed him on an antibiotic, and they had a special team there for a NICU. The woman that hit us didn't have insurance, and I was left in physical therapy for the remainder of all of it. So throughout the years, I had two little boys to keep up with, and in 2001, in January, I was bent over cleaning out a cooler, and I heard a pop. And it was my disc breaking off that had embedded in my nerves that made it to where I could hardly move. I couldn't sit up. So I ended up making it to the hospital, where a young anesthesiologist patted me on the hand and said that he was going to do an epidural on me. In 30 minutes, I'd be able to sit up. So we went for the epidural, and in 30 minutes, they tried to raise the bed, and I was in excruciating pain, and it didn't work. So the following day, they did emergency surgery on me and removed the disc fragments from my nerves. And what had happened through that was I lost mobility. I lost the mobility to walk fast. I could still walk, but I had to think, put one foot in front of the other. So I was very slow at it, but on my way to complete recovery. So I felt really good about things at that moment. And then in 2 months, in March, I woke up getting ready to go to the bathroom, and I noticed I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't sit up again. That pain was back. I was excruciating, so I knew exactly what had happened. So bawling, I called the hospital and talked to the doctor that had done the surgery, and he said that get to the hospital, we'll get the OR ready, and that you're going to continue to have these surgeries. So in my tears, I made it back to the hospital and had another surgery. That time, they went in on the same incision, and I ended up with a bunch of scar tissue wrapped around my nerves. It made it to where I had trouble twisting and bending, but I still started going back to the YMCA, working out, walking, doing laps. And 7 months from that date, I found out that I had thyroid cancer, and it was wrapped around my vocal cords. So I ended up with this raspy voice, and blessed to have this voice at all, so I'll take the raspy voice. So through that, I've ended up with a domino of surgeries throughout the years. I ended up ballooning up to 330 pounds because with no thyroid, no matter what you do, it makes it hard. I ended up making Coca-Cola my best friend in life. When I drink Coca-Cola, it makes it to where my voice is clear for a few seconds. So I thought that was my answer, but it wasn't my answer nutritionally. I ended up having gastric bypass surgery in 2005 to try to reduce my weight and to become a healthier person. I've always been on a mission to be a healthier person, and I feel like I've had everything working against me to get there. So in the gastric bypass surgery, it's the most dangerous surgery of all. My kidneys shut down. I started retaining water. They had to do a bunch of Lasix and then flush out and try to re-get my kidneys started, which after a couple days they did. And I went home for the painful recovery that was the gastric bypass surgery. I've went through a total of 11 surgeries. My knees are bad. I've had a scope done on them. I've had bursitis in my hips since I was 17. I've had a lot of stress, anxiety, ended up on Xanax, Norco. I've been on hydrocodone since 2001, since the first surgery in my back, and didn't think that anything would ever change that. I ended up going to physical therapy. I've done Vaxd. I ended up with my colon decided to quit working. I didn't know your colon could quit working, but mine did. So that ended up being months and months of testing to figure out why that it quit. I tried coffee enemas, which I'll talk about later in another video, that bought me time and saved me throughout that. So the coffee enemas bought me time to be able to try to find my own solution for what's called a nissamus, which was my colon quitting. And it did. I turned to YouTube, my favorite channel, to be able to find someone that knew something, because the options that they were offering me at the time was Botox injections up the anal sphincter, and perhaps depends, a colostomy bag, or massage therapy, which is called biofeedback, and they don't mean on your shoulders. And I wasn't interested in any of those. So thanks to YouTube, I found someone in the UK that had went through the same problems with their colon and didn't want a colonoscopy. So they did a spine cord stimulator. I had problems with my L4 and 5 since the car wreck, and my doctor had talked to me about doing a spine cord stimulator. So I thought maybe, just maybe, if they run a wire to the disc to the colon too, that maybe that would help me there. And it did. I did a trial, and on day 4, I was a total success story. So again, I thought that I was getting a grip on my pain and on my health. So I was starting to try to see if I could wean myself down a little bit from my medicines. I had to have Ambien at night to sleep. I had to have Xanax for stress to be able to walk in stores. Standing long periods of time was an issue. Sitting. I ended up with fibromyalgia. Fibro is one of those all over pain. On a day like today, with it being rainy, it wouldn't be a day that I'd be out recording a video for you guys. It would be one that I would be in bed and not able to move. So ended up doing heated water therapy, which I highly recommend for fibromyalgia. And then in October, I decided to give CBD oils a try. I had tripped and fell over my purse 2 years ago and created a new injury, and the spinal cord stimulator was for the right side, and I blew a disc on the left. So I started again with physical therapy and prednisone and epidural injections and nerve burning, and none of which worked for any length of time. So back to October, I started the CBD oil, and it was a capsule, and I didn't notice any difference. So then I went and tried another kind, and I noticed that there was some help to it. I could tell that there was a difference. I felt a little better with my pain medication. So I knew there was something to it, so I knew I had to keep studying more and more and more. So each month, because I'm on a fixed income, I kept trying different types and different kinds of CBD oil. And I was really concerned with with the THC in it for me, because I'm a pastor's wife and a foster parent. So I knew that I had to be really careful with what I was putting into my body. I had posted my concerns on Facebook, and a pastor's wife got a hold of me and said, "Why don't you try Ultracell? There's no THC, and I think maybe it might work for you. I've read your story." So she lived in the area, and I went to her house, and she offered to give me a free dose of it to see what I thought about it. So I tried the dose, and I sat there and talked to her for 40 minutes. And what I noticed during that 40 minutes was it worked. My pain, I relaxed, I was calm. And I told her before I left, I said, I want to do that 7-day challenge. I want to try that, because I need more of this. I want to see what it does for 7 days in a row, not just one fluky day for me. And that's all I thought it really was one fluky day. I didn't know if it was like a placebo effect, my mind wanting it to work really bad. So I paid the $35, I got the trial, and I took it home with me. And each day that I took it, I noticed that I was improving. So I ended up taking my husband. He ended up getting a bottle of it. And we started going to meetings because we wanted to learn absolute everything there was to know about how could this work? Why did it work? And they had meetings that we can go to every night of the week till we can listen to a team that knows a lot more than we do and explain how and why. So that's what we did. And for both me and him with almost identical matching problems, we found out that this stuff, Ultracell, was for us. So much so that I knew I couldn't live without it, that I needed to sell the product because I had to have it at all times. So here I am, and I'm starting a YouTube channel because I want to be able to explain as much to you guys as possible in hopes that this will help you guys. Thank you for listening.